So my roommate just got dumped or out of a relationship, and so this got the axe, and this what brought us to talking about this because he's about to hit the market again.
Right.
You know, you got to like crank the engine back up, polish the car, and get back out there. And with that, I mean, it starts with like flirting and like jumping over those barriers of being rejected and everything, and it's a different ball game in Germany than it is here.
Especially flirting. I met so many American girls who were basically saying that they never got hit on, or they basically missed being hit on while they were in Germany. And the thing is, they were probably hit on like 1,000 times by German standards. They just didn't know they were being hit on.
And they were hitting on you too, and you were just oblivious. No girl just tells you, "I miss being hit on." Like she's telling, "Hey, you know, like I miss being hit on. Could you, compliment me?"
Okay, that's what's happening here.
Noted.
Right. So German guys, and I'm generalizing, but I think that's kind of true. If they will hit on someone, like that means looking at their eyes for longer than 2 seconds. That's like the first step, I guess. And then actually for a German guy to walk up to someone and ask someone out, it's a huge barrier, I feel. Like, you will see that way less often. And like German girls, they're going to get excited if someone, hey, that guy just walked up to me and asked me out.
Well, I mean, it's terrifying. I mean, even here, you gotta, be a little more flirtatious. You're gonna have to, initiate that, and then you kind of get a read. And I'll never forget, I got out of a relationship like, God, a year and a half, 2 years ago, and I was talking to one of my good friends. I was like, man, I don't know what to do now. Like, and he was like, man, first step, get used to being rejected. And it's very true. Like in the sense of like, you have to be brave enough to like initiate it and ask someone out.
Right.
Where, and like, I mean, with Germany, it's the same thing, but I think like I know Americans are much more likely to like basically swing the bat,
right,
and take the chance, and then if it doesn't happen, they're just like, all right, well,
get back up and go out, basically.
Yeah.
Whereas I think Germans are more like afraid of being rejected, so that's why they just never try, and I think it's
But with that too, and then you flip it around where like if you're asking a girl out, like you're going to know if you're asking a German girl out, you're flirting with a German girl like immediately.
Right.
Like you're gonna know like if you have a vibe or not. Where like sometimes with American girls, they're also kind of just playing a flirtatious game where you don't really know if it's genuine or not.
And generally, there's so much more small talking going on in the U.S. Where you would just talk to someone you met in a supermarket or like just a cashier or someone that might just be like a small talk, or it turns into a flirt or something. That just happens, I guess, less often in Germany, I think.
Yeah, I mean, small talking does have a huge thing to do with it because we're much more likely to like start up a conversation and just for the hell of it, and it may just be nothing. And then that's where you have to really get better at reading between the lines.
Right.
With that to see if there's something there. And sometimes you misread.
Oh yeah, and then you get rejected.
Yes.
You will hear a lot that Americans will say they've been dating someone. And to Germans, that sounds like, the word date actually just usually refers to like meeting someone for the first time or second time or third time. Whereas if you say in English, I'm dating someone for 3 years, that means you've been in a relationship with that person for 3 years, right?
Yeah, and
it's just a terminology thing, but it's interesting. Though.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, people will say, yeah, we've been dating this long. But two, if depending on like the type of relationship you're in, sometimes the terminology is like, oh yeah, I'm dating, and you can use that like I'm dating as in like I'm seeing multiple people. But but if you're like I'm in a relationship, like that's like you're really dating.
It's a statement.
Yeah, it's like a statement. So yeah, but for most part, Americans will just say, oh yeah, I'm dating. Yeah, I've been dating my girlfriend.
And then you marry. Get engaged and then marry. So
yeah. And so like there's dating, engagement, marriage, I guess is what you can say. But I like to think of it more like there's dating, then there's relationships, and then there's engagement, and then there's marriage. I try to put, because sometimes, especially like because people go into dating for different reasons.
Right.
And I think especially the part of the country I'm from in the South, that process is a lot quicker. And we've talked about this before in our marriage video. But yeah, so like you have to be really upfront with, after a few dates, if you're going to continue like dating that person or if you're going to move on.
Shut it off.
Right.
Okay. Then how about dating itself? Like, dating in the United States is like an industry. There's actually a dating etiquette, like, so you know how to behave. There's terminology around it, like the 3 bases, or like certain things that you got to do after 3 days. The call thing. I mean, we have that in Germany as well, but in the US, it's just so much more, I guess. Yeah, like fixed or set like a certain way.
Yeah, and we start. I mean, you kind of start you get molded earlier, I think, in the United States, in the sense of where, like, in middle school and high school, like, you have dances and formals and
prom.
Yeah, like prom is a classic example, but prom is just a big one. You have lots of little dances that no one ever hears about in preparation for, like, prom.
Okay.
And but yeah, there's a total etiquette in the sense of, like, oh, if you get a girl's number, like, if you meet a girl at a bar, you know, you probably don't want to text her like 8 a.m. the next morning. You know, like, you're like, hey, thinking of you, like a complete creep. Like, you know, you wait a few days, and then, like, you may send her like a casual text or a casual call.
Right.
Be like, hey, you know, I was thinking I'm just doing this or that, you know, for like a casual date. Right. And then if you do get like the green light, and, you know, y'all go get coffee or, you know, do whatever. And then if it goes well, because like that first date, especially, it's almost like a job interview where you're trying to be like, you know, is this going well or not? And one way I do it is I imagine myself like on a long trip, like a car ride.
Right.
And I'm like, if I had like a 7-hour car drive, could I stand being in the car with this person that whole time, or would I like want to jump out?
Okay.
That's kind of like what goes through my head on like a first date. Like, am I really enjoying this conversation, or am I ready for it to be over?
You know, it would be actually fun to have a date with a girl and like just say, okay, first day we're gonna drive 7 hours in a car and see what comes out of this.
She would probably then pepper spray you and call the cops, being like,
that's a creep.
Really, like in the U.S., like a proper first date, you may ask a girl like for like coffee, or, you know, like to do something but casual, because it is kind of, because however you met her, you may not know her as well as like you know like other people in your group, and so you want to do something casual where like you can really like talk, have like an hour, you know, and just kind of figure things out.
Figure one another out, really like take the time to do that.
Yeah,
like,
and
like, some people like go on like first date like to the movies. Which to me is like, why would you go to the movies with someone you barely know, and then you sit next to one another and watch a movie?
Yeah,
I mean, I think I guess when you're like 14, 15, 16, it's cool, because then you can like start holding hands. But like at this point, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's a good first date, because you're not really figuring anything out.
You're figuring out the movie.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like, so.
And how much you hate that romantic.
The stupid, you know, romantic, like
Julia Roberts, whatever kind of thing.
But yeah, I think you'd want to do something where you have, like, especially in the U.S., because you're going to have a lot more small talking.
Right.
And then if it goes well, your second date would maybe be like a movie or event or a nicer dinner. You know, something a little more formal.
Right.
You know, and it's very, in the South too, like, it's good to have like proper manners, like hold a door, open a door, you know. If you're younger and you're going to like a girl's home, like she still lives at home, like, you want to make sure like to introduce yourself, and, you know, and these things, you know, sometimes like I take them for granted, and like, and of course a lot of people know that, you know, but like that's important. It's important to have like the proper etiquette,
right?
Because if you don't, it just won't go well. I mean, with going out on a date, I mean, it's more casual in Germany, right? Because we have our etiquette and all our little, you know, rules, but it's
like in the movies when you pick it, like when the guy 16-year-olds, they already have a car, of course, which is a difference in dating actually, because you can pick your girlfriend or your date up from their house, which in Germany you can't. Perhaps when you're 18 and if you have a car, but usually that's not how people do it. But in the States, it's normal, right?
Right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right. That's different. And then I guess there is dating etiquette in Germany, and a lot of things that you mentioned earlier, and like to wait a little bit before you contact someone after you met them. Of course, that counts in Germany as well, but it's less set in stone, I guess. It's less fixed, and it's a lot more relaxed, where it's more about actually getting to know that person slower, and you will often, like, dating kind of evolves, at least that's my experience, also around your like friend circle sometimes, like the social circle, and you will then, you know, if you really meet someone on like a one-to-one date, after you're pretty sure that you like them already.
You're right. So you're already, you know, you kind of know what you're getting into.
A little bit, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and I think with that, I mean, as you get a little older and you go from like the college age or like your first job, you have that where like you have more like a group setting, where it's much easier. But then like once you get a little past that, and
Out of
then,
college,
right, and then you're just really trying to like go out with people and meet people. You really see in the U.S. people try to stay away from dating within their circle, because when it goes bad, as it will, like then someone has to leave that circle.
Right. And generally, like Americans, I think tend to date just way more and it's also like a thing. You just are you dating someone right now? No, I'm just not dating someone. I'm looking. You know, it's more. There's more, I guess. What's the right term? Turnover.
Yes,
And dating a little bit than I think in Germany.
Well, too, like it goes back to because you start dating someone in a trial and error situation where we really don't know them as well as you may in Germany, and so for a lot you may go out on a couple of dates and you're like nah, and like move on. Where in Germany, I think it's more, you're much more comfortable because you're not going to ask someone out as like impulsively as you would maybe in the United States.
Yeah, it's true.
So it's more premeditated, and not a creepy way.
Right.
It's like it's just a different situation.
I'm not sure how it is in the United States, but there are so many singles in Germany right now. Like the amount of I live in Hamburg, and there are hundreds of thousands of singles, and it seems like it's like a kind of weird situation because if I talk to my friends, like a lot of them don't like being single, they don't want to be singles. And they are kind of looking for someone, but their expectations are just so high of someone. Like they have this image that they want, like of a person to be. And then if they meet someone, if they date someone, there's always this little thing that kind of sets them off, that annoys them, why they don't continue dating. You think is that similar here, or?
I would say not in like the South.
Okay.
In the South, like if you're like in New York or like Chicago, like bigger areas, I think you do have a lot more singles.
Okay.
But in this part of the country, people commit earlier, and like you said, people are in relationships more often. But yeah, you always have. But at the same time, like I mean, we're in Nashville right now, and there's a lot of single people, and it's a great town for people our age.
It's awesome for meeting people.
Yeah, and so it's not as bad as like in Hamburg, but there's some of that.
Okay.
One thing that I absolutely hate
Milk? No.
PDA. And like a PDA, when you go into like
can you explain what
parks,
PDA is though?
Yeah, public display of affection.
Right.
And you made a really good point, and we've talked about this before because like we'll be out and like you'll see like PDA and it just drives me insane.
So I think you need to like explain a little more. What PDA means actually people making out in public.
Oh yeah, like people being like touchy feely, like hand stuff, making out, like sweating together in parks. You're just like man, like
cuddling all together.
Yeah, and. Like in Europe, especially Southern Europe, it's just insane to me. But you explained to me why.
It's I think you have that in Germany. You do have that, but then it's more intense if you go to southern France or Italy. In Italy, I studied in Italy for half a year, and you will go to parks and people they will not just be making out. They will do things in the parks like publicly that should be rated R. And one of the reasons is that Italians, they stay with their family or with their mom for a long time, usually until they're like 30, 35, sometimes 40. And so, they can't really do that at home because it's, where their parents are living. So they just need to go somewhere else, and that might just be the park.
Like €60 hotel or something. I mean, like, but yeah. But yeah, you don't really see that here. And if you do see it here, you're just, it's creepy, it really is. Or like, I'll just get on my soapbox. Like couples who sit on like the same side of the booth, it drives me crazy. Like I can't deal with that.
Oh, when they sit on the same side of the table,
right? And there's no one else with them. Yeah. It's just them. It's like, hey, it's just not. It's like look across at one another. Like come on.
Little things that can set up gym.
Yeah, I just immediately go to my Germ-X. I'm just like getting nervous.
Take a shower. I think an interesting thing about the equality of men and women is that, it's still kind of like the guy's role to make the first move, right? But then there's some girls who think that's not valid anymore because of equality of women and men, and some girls who really want to have like the traditional role of being asked out. And I think in the US, that's very much the case, right?
Yeah, I think too, with dating, I think it's still, you still want to have that etiquette.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a difference between like being polite and being sexist.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah, of course.
And so, I mean, with that, and two, with like some dates, like it's not going to be where like the guy's paying for everything,
Right.
or it's there is like you just have to gauge the situation.
But for me, like paying like on the first date, I always paid like for the first date.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
But there are some women, like in Germany, I've heard some women, they will refuse that. They will basically won't let the guy pay for both because they think it's just not the times, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, and you can obviously gauge that, like how the date's going.
Right.
I would say.
So we're almost done with this episode. We just want to talk about online dating for 1 second. So just we're gonna cross it off, and we don't have to read comments why we didn't talk about online dating. What do you think?
I've never embarked on online dating.
Me neither.
But I will say this: it's extremely popular.
Yeah.
And it's not weird at all. Like I don't think of anyone if someone's like, oh yeah, I met somebody on Tinder or Match or whatever. Like it doesn't even go, oh, online dating. Like and maybe 5 years ago, it would have.
Yeah, it's true.
But now it's just
so common.
It's very common. It's almost more common than like the traditional like going up to somebody.
I wonder what effect had that also.
Yeah, well, it's crazy. Like you'll be at bars and you'll see people on their phones pulling out their phones, and there's like a few apps that you can look and see
people surrounding you.
Yeah, and see if they're there, and then you can basically contact them on the phone, and it'll show that you're like in the radius. Like you're like, oh, we're like 3 blocks from each other. Oh, maybe they'll want to meet up, or or I don't know. It's just. It's very common here, and I mean I know a ton of people will do it, and it's a good way because it is harder now, I guess, in like their traditional sense to meet people.
Actually, one of my cousins, his wife now, they found one another through one of those like kind of like scientific dating sites, and they're married, they have a child now, and it's working out perfect. So
yeah, no, I think it's Is it weird like in Germany? Like would you be like?
I don't think so, not anymore. Perhaps it's being looked down upon a little by some people, but I think it's fine. It's just gotten normal that people date on.
Yeah,
online.
no, it's. I mean, in the U.S. we even have like speed dating and like lunch break dating, and
lunch break dating. That's nice.
Yeah, I mean, there's all types of different things, and I mean, especially like where we are now in the world with technology, why not use it?
It's true. That's true. As long as it does not hurt the traditional way, and I think it does a little bit though.
I think so too. It does hurt a little way.
But that's just how it is.
But whatever.
Oh yeah, okay, that's just how it is.
Yeah. How like with the speed of dating? I mean, what's kind of like the timeline for Germans? Because like I think in the U.S. it's kind of like you go through those first couple dates,
right?
And then if everything goes well, you're dating, and then like maybe 6 months to a year, maybe like you'll share a key, or there's kind of like unspoken like steps
that you got to take.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends on where you are in your life. I mean, the girl that I dated, that I was in Germany, that I was together with, I guess, and then when I was in university, like after I finished university, we moved in together basically. And that's kind of like you have the same thing where if you don't take those certain stages, then the relationship is probably going to be.
Well, let me ask, when y'all moved in together, like, was that just I mean, I know people do it economically, but moving in together, was that like because in the U.S. I mean I'll generalize, but for the U.S. when you move in with someone really with intent of marriage is really there. I mean, for the most part, for most relationships, like you're going to. I mean, that's the direction you're headed.
Right. Not necessarily in Germany.
Yeah.
Not necessarily. I mean, we moved in when I was like 3 years ago, I guess. So I was like 24. No, that was not with the intention yet we're going to get married. Not yet. I mean, you cannot talk about that, but it's not like the severe. You're like, well, no, that does not mean we are going to get married. Not at all. And I think we talked about it in the marriage episode. Like Germans get married just way later. Actually.
Way later.
Yeah.
To a little hint: if you do move in with your significant other, try to keep as much stuff as you can in your name, because if you do break up,
I still miss that Nespresso machine that I gave her for her birthday. Damn it! I should have just bought that and not given as a gift.
One of my friends was living with his girlfriend, and they broke up. And so when she moved out, it was a very civil breakup.
Right.
But when she moved out, there's never exactly a civil breakup. And so when she moved out, she took like random stuff. Like she took all his power cords. Like so all like the
right?
all the cords to his computers and televisions, and then like they had like 2 sets of stuff. And so instead of taking one of each, she would just take 2 of it, like 2 of everything. Like took all the can openers, like all the forks, just like so. He got home and like the stuff that she left, he was like, okay. She took both beds. Like, yeah, like so like this. Sometimes relationships just don't. Breakups. I mean, breakups they suck.
Mm-hmm.
But usually after a couple of months, there's some really funny stories.
Yeah, it's true.
Like. She did what? He did what? So I'm sure people have some funny breakup stories.
Oh yeah, actually leave those in the comments. That'd be awesome. Flirting and dating, as we said, interesting topic. I'm sure there's a lot of stories, so use the comment box down there.
Don't be afraid to be rejected. Swing the bat.
Okay.
Y'all take it easy.
Bye-bye.
Pack it up, son, bring it on home. Drag your feet and hang your head all you want.
Like if I meet a girl, get her number, whatever. I mean, there's etiquette, like we've said before, and really the first thing is you kind of want to wait, like because you don't want to come on like too strong, but at the same time you don't want to like come off like as a jerk. Like you don't want to like jerk someone around, or lead them on.
The jerking is later, right?
But like you got him. You basically damn it, Alex. Okay. All right, I completely lost my train of thought because